Ingstrom,
Present.
Councilman Ziprich,
Here.
Councilwoman Horgan, here. Councilwoman Schwabenbauer, here. Councilman Taylor,
Here.
Councilman Whalen.
Here.
Okay, and the time officially is 7:21. Okay, workshop, Washington Street Historic District. I know that Councilman Ziprich is going to be addressing this, and this is a follow-up to the original statutory enactment concerning the Historic Preservation District. And we had a meeting, and there's going to be a recommendation, which is a very good one for us to move forward. Ed?
Thanks. Historic Preservation Commission. The Commission is reviewing and entertaining and discussing granting some tax incentives in the Washington Street Historic District. The HPC has discussed this topic with the mayor and myself at the last commission meeting. And I know that Mark Fitzsimmons is here from the commission. The mayor and I agreed that restoration of porches and other significant restoration projects in the Washington Street Historic District may accomplish the protection and enhancement and perpetuation of historically accurate porches and facades, which will help safeguard the heritage of Red Bank by preserving resources within the borough. The Historic Preservation Commission will continue their research and dialogue with the mayor and the as we look at tax benefits for both residents and the borough. And that the documents that I just passed out are the first draft of the granting of tax incentives in the district, particularly as they pertain to front porches. The second document that I passed out is the preliminary Washington Street Historic District architectural design guidelines that Mark Fitzsimmons has been working on for most of the summer. And Mark, this has been an ongoing project. Last we met, we had asked you and the commission to sort of whittle it down and make it and integrate it into the steps that Glenn Carter had drafted for the commission members at the last meeting.
Yes. Hi, everybody.
His name is Mark Fitzsimmons.
Is this working?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll be happy.
My name is Mark Fitzsimmons. I've been on the HBC Commission for 100 years.
Can you push the button on the bottom one?
Okay.
Let's hold it on the very bottom. Hold it in for a minute until it lights up.
Is that good? There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, my name is Mark Fitzsimmons. I'm an architect. I've been in Red Bank many years. On the HPC Commission for a number of years too, as many years as Ed Zipprich here. And I started writing this first guideline here back in 2013, I think, as far as for the Washington Street Historic District. We know how important this district is in the history of Red Bank, and it's very unique as far as from planning purposes. It's unique as far as how ordinary towns developed with Main Street and the historic district right next to it. And as states and cities get denser, this is going to be much more of a unique district for us to follow and to preserve and protect. I have, let's say, condensed this guideline down, and I know it's important to make things simple so that, let's say, the average person can just look at this and have an idea as far as what they have to do. There are many different styles of houses and porches in the Washington Street Historic District, but each one of them are going to fall under preservation, and each one's going to fall under restoration and then replacement. And I have made this simpler. I got a copy here. I worked on it this afternoon. I got examples here if you want to pass them
No,
out.
this is not the time for
Okay.
that, Mark. I think we just need an overview, and we appreciate that. What I think the consensus would be is that if the council is in agreement, as we discussed at the Historic Preservation Committee meeting, is that it would be referred back to the commission for an actual written set of guidelines,
Sure.
which would then be incorporated into the enabling ordinance. And so we don't have to go through all of that tonight, but I think you hit it on the head saying that the district is very special, peculiar in terms of architectural character and different styles, which is good, but they all need some preservation and enhancement, and this goes with what we originally talked about when the district was adopted. So you're actually creating regulations that then, if people that are going to abide by those regulations, they would, if we adopt an ordinance, be eligible for essentially an abatement of the improved structure for a certain period of time if they make those improvements.
Yes,
That's
that'd
what it is.
be great, yeah.
But we don't have to go through the styles or anything like that.
And it's a great laboratory of, let's say, historic preservation here, because they're all different stages and levels, and, you know, some have upkept their houses very nicely, but and I think we could learn from the good examples of what people have done there too. So that's great. I appreciate that very much.
And then I want to thank you for coming out on short notice. I know we had left a message from Michaela earlier today to ask her to attend tonight. I'm sure she's up to it.
Yeah, no, well, in the next meeting, we'll get this further in order.
Take it back to the commission and we'll continue working.
Yes, okay, great.
Set the stage.
Okay, thank you.
Any members of the council have any questions for workshop? Go ahead, Councilman
I
Schwartz.
do, thank you. This is terrific. I'm not opposed to tax incentives as a driver of public policy. Historically, it's been used quite successfully. I think this looks great too, Edwin. I think when we do bring this forward, I think we want to have some sense of what the tax incentives would look like and what the impact might be on the budget. So I just want to throw that out as a suggestion, so that when we flesh this out, we'll understand the ultimate impact to our bottom line.
Yes, this is just in its Germanic phrase, and we're going to have a discussion with the assessor, and I know that I'll be talking to Ed. We did this before in Red Bank for the Shrewsbury Avenue Business District, maybe about 15 years ago, and you know, it was heralded as a good tool. Some businesses availed themselves of it. Most did not, regrettably, maybe because the economy wasn't good. But we did try it in Red Bank once before, and this is a good place to start. Anybody have any objections, or we'll move forward? Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Approval of the minutes for October 11th. Motion? Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Approval of the minutes for October 18th. All in favor? Second? All in favor? Any opposed? We also have some appointments this evening. Karen Fasano Thompson to the Animal Welfare Advisory Committee. And we talked about moving forward with respect to a NEARS committee on the Shrewsbury Avenue proposed streetscape and other improvements that would address our cooperation with the county in terms of moving forward with the Shrewsbury Avenue improvements. So that would be, the following individuals have expressed a willingness and replied on our website, and I think they represent different constituencies and should be appointed. Frank Corrado from the Environmental Commission, Ed O'Neill, Kate Okeson, Helen Leiskin, Lance Van Glan, Steve Rogers, Sharon Lee, Jesse Garrison, and Councilman Taylor will be the liaisons, since you already started doing some work on this, okay? With respect to the Riverside Avenue and Front Street area in need of rehabilitation, again, I think we're going to be having some public discussions with the neighbors on Shrewsbury Avenue. Following individuals at this point are appointed to that committee. Dan Mancuso from the Planning Board. Councilman Yingstrom is going to be our liaison. Ivan Scudieri, who's employed, as we all know, at the Count Basie, but is a resident of Red Bank. David Huber, who is the Senior Vice President, Chief Financial Officer for Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, and a resident of Red Bank to serve. Judy Anthony and Michaela Ferragine. Okay? I think it's a good cross-section of people that bring in some really good perspectives and, on that.
Mayor, just real quick, the Riverside Avenue Committee, I know we passed the resolution on requesting the state to do a traffic study. Will they be kind of overseeing that process? At least
Well, this is
provides for
completely
that.
separate and apart, but obviously, that's a whole, we'll look into that also, yeah. From the press, I've been told that DOT has already said, no again. And I got a call from the Two River Times saying that their response was thank you, but no thank you, so I don't know.
So then, Mayor, so the Riverside Ave Front Street, that committee is purely for the rehabilitation area that
That's
was
correct.
passed. And then the Shrewsbury Ave Advisory Committee, that's, because that's not in that area,
No,
the rehabilitation area, that's just a separate.
Yes,
Okay.
if you recall, we had talked about a number of things on Shrewsbury Avenue.
Agreed, right.
Better signage, certainly better lighting. The lighting is absolutely atrocious. It looks like you're back in 1930s. The streetscape improvements and the walkability as well as other issues on Shrewsbury Avenue in terms of public use of Shrewsbury Avenue. So that's what they're going to concentrate on. And we'll be concentrating with the county. I know the county's aware of it. They said that they'd like to have a broad-based residents group also talk to them about it. So I think it's a good start. It's not the exclusive finishing product, but I think we need some citizen input on that. Reports of mayor and council committee members, Eric?
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to remind everybody that the Halloween egg hunt is this Friday at Count Basie Park at 7 p.m. So tell all your friends and family. The Falcon Arts program is designed for different learners. It's right after school for 4 weeks, starting November 7th, and the cost is free. The second annual Winter Clothes Drive will begin on November 13th and run through December 19th. We'll be accepting gently used clothing, and we'll be donating that to St. Anthony's at the lunch break. And Veterans Day ceremony will be held on Saturday, November 11th at 11 a.m. at 51 Monmouth Street. Thank you.
Ed?
Thanks, Mayor. The Department of Public Utilities is currently executing our road program. Manor Drive has been resurfaced. Layton Avenue is currently having crosswalks and curbs rebuilt and will be resurfaced. And Prospect Avenue is also under reconstruction the last couple of days, and resurfacing was completed today. I want to congratulate all the winners at last Sunday's Halloween parade. And the costume contest was kind of exciting this year. It was a great day for all of the residents, especially our younger set. Thanks to Councilman Yingstrom, Charlie and the Parks and Rec team, our DPW team, our fire and police departments who all made it a great day. It's great fun tradition here at Red Bank, and the Wright Street parking lot was rocked by the School of Rock musicians. So thanks to everybody who participated. On Friday night, I was proud to represent the borough at Lunch Breaks Ball Gala. It was an exciting evening of fellowship, recognition, and great community partners. And lastly, congratulations to Coleman Baptist Church on their 125th Jubilee celebration last Sunday, and thank you, Mayor, for representing all of us at that.
Thank you, Ed. Kathy?
No report.
Thank you. Michael?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. I was going to just echo Ed's comments. Police and fire did a great job on the Halloween parade. And the Mayor, for the communication and petitions, there's obviously two parking items on there. Do you want to wait to talk until we get to that point, or do you want to make a brief remark about them during the committee? I'd rather wait. Okay, great. Then that's it.
Mark?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple quick points. Environmental Commission, we are full steam ahead with the Green Team and our Sustainable Jersey. We have a mid-November deadline to finalize our application. There are two elements, resolutions on the agenda tonight that contribute to that. The creation of the Creative Team and the electric vehicle supply as well. So we are full speed ahead on that. One point from the Code and Construction Committee, you can now file Citizen Tracker reports online through our website. John Drucker and Matt Ryan were instrumental in getting that developed. So if you have any complaints, you can now file them directly through our website. There's also, I do want to announce on behalf of the other Red Bank Borough Education Foundation members, the Holiday Flavor Festival is November 13th. Half of all ticket sales go to the Red Bank Borough Education Foundation. So please buy your tickets, they're $40, and again, that event is November 13th.
Thank you, Mark. Linda?
Thank you. Interviews for a new borough administrator are ongoing. We are in the second round now for resumes received prior to September 8th. We are setting up first round interviews for resumes received subsequent to September 8th. We're continuing the process, and we anticipate having someone here before the end of the year. We have a number of excellent candidates, and I think as I noted before, we were very pleased with the diversity of the resumes that we received. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Michael, next time you ride that cherry picker during a parade, you have to let us know. In case you fall out, we have to amend our workers' comp policy.
I think he's like to do that.
I thought that beer was going to throw you off. Requests, communications, and petitions. Request from River Center to install holiday tree in Riverside Gardens and tree lights throughout the business district. Motion. Second. All in favor? Aye. Request from River Center for free parking throughout the downtown on Friday, November 25th, and then November 27th, and also then from December 11th to December 25th. Motion.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Any opposed?
No,
Opposition is the dates.
Yeah.
It says
Friday,
Friday and
Saturday,
Saturday.
November 25th, and Saturday, 27th.
Yeah, you're right.
It's just like
25th and 26th.
Saturday and
25th and
Sunday, or is
26th.
it?
No, it's Friday and Saturday, the 25th and 26th.
26th, yeah. Our clerk was being creative. Request from Riverview Medical Center for authorization to purchase the maximum number of parking permits for use in Marine Park from October 1, 2017 through March 31st, 2018 to Eco Presto campus. This is going to be at a fair. It's going to be by permit, paying permit, and it'll be at a time of the year in the winter time that the park does not get the greater utilization. This has been reviewed by the parking committee and also by Parks and Rec. Michael?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. River Center was at the meeting as well. They were involved in discussion about this, as well as the unanimous decision from the parking committee, which is Eric and myself. Permit spaces open after 2 p.m., so you're not giving up a huge chunk of the day to that permit space, especially you said in the winter. You don't have the boaters down there. Activities are a little less, given that we're coming into the winter months. So it's one way. We also went through the numbers of last year's parking usage in that lot from last winter from that time period, and it was extremely low. So, it's not like we had full usage last year. And we know that based on the revenue that comes in and based on the MPA numbers. So given that we're relatively empty during that time last year, it's a win-win and everyone's on board. So I think it's a smart move. And like I said, they open up after 2 p.m. So anyone coming in the afternoon to Red Bank and you see one of those permit spaces, if it's an open spot, you're able to park there. So
is that, there's a motion and a second, right? No, is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there any subsequent discussion? There's a second. Any subsequent discussion? Kathy?
I just, it's just for that specific amount of time from October 1st to March.
Yes.
31st next year.
My hunch is that once you give somebody something, it's going to be very difficult to take it away again. Okay, but if that's what you want to do, that's what you can do. I caution that sunset date is going to be very, very difficult to remove.
It's just,
I know that.
We deal with
We've had
so many
permits that
permits.
are 10 years old now. Okay. Motion second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Second is a request from 26 West on the Navasink Valley to implement valet parking, again, for 90-day sunset provision, question mark, with all pickups and drop-offs occurring on both club court and vehicles being stored in the municipal lot in Marine Park. Now, I know that this has gone to the parking committee at my request, and I don't know what your recommendation is, but frankly, I'm going to warn you once again. The owners and the operators knew from day one that they didn't have one parking space. They knew from day one that they were exceeding and extending and increasing their usage load by insurmountable numbers. They knew that it was very difficult. They also knew that they could not get any permits for any other situations on Front Street because that is a county road. All of those are facts. Now, the recommendation is, I guess, that they could be permitted to have a valet service with drop-off on Boat Club Lane. I mean, somebody doesn't have reality here. Boat Club Lane is a driveway. It is barely passable under normal circumstances, and you're going to increase the traffic in and out of Boat Club Lane, which is unpaved and unsurfaced, on a Saturday night, on a Friday night, and on a Thursday night when people are scrambling all over the place. What am I missing here?
Well, what about the boat clubs? Have they been consulted? Because maybe they'll need spaces.
But what I'm saying, Kathy, is that I'm talking about Boat Club Lane, which is not even at the foot of the hill. It's right between the apartment building and the restaurant. It's going up the hill. You've got traffic going in and out, so that's already eating up the traffic, ingress and egress on both ways. It's not one way, and now you're going to have people parked there waiting for their valet. This is insane. And they knew it. It's not something that they all of a sudden realized, oh, it happened. They knew it before they opened up. They were told that in their approval process. So what am I missing here?
Yeah, that's why we're doing a 90-day trial period to see how it works, if there's queuing up, if it's causing traffic problems. We want to give it a shot and see how it goes. If it doesn't work, then we don't renew it. After
And you know
90 days.
something, Councilman, I respect your effort to try to be accommodating. You explained to me on a Friday night where the police is staggering with respect to calls all over town, and traffic enforcement stops at 4 o'clock in the afternoon in terms of parking officers. Who's going to monitor it? Right now, there's nobody monitoring the traffic that is blocking Boat Club Lane. Complaints from the neighbors over there at the apartment house. There is nobody minding the store there, and now you're going to increase the problem tenfold. I mean, it's going to be a massive nightmare.
What if we do it for 30 days?
Why don't you do it for nothing?
I mean, I think the whole point of this was to bring it back from the parking committee to have a discussion here. I know the police chief, director of public works, Stanley, River Center, and the parking committee were talking about this at length on weighing out all the different options. I know the chief or Cliff or Jim have any comment to make regarding the mayor's concerns, or to me, I'm either way on this. I don't want it to the mayor's point. If it's going to cause a detriment and cause more traffic and more queuing of cars, I don't think it's necessary. If it's going to help and it's able to be, ratified in a way where it's going to just move from the restaurant to Marine Park. Again, you have these. If it was going to work, I don't think it's an issue with it being in Marine Park as much so as your first point. So because think about it, the permits are going to open up at 2, this valet is going to be at night, so I don't think that the Marine Park location, final destination is an issue. Your issue is
I'm talking about the
getting
parking.
it.
I'm talking about
Right,
and by
that's what I'm saying, is that your
else.
issue is the first part of it, not the destination. So,
I mean, am I living in a different world, Michael? You, I'm the parking committee chairman, and I supported it, and the whole council supported a valet parking program for the downtown. It was not for a restaurant. It was not for 2 restaurants. It's for the downtown, and it's on Broad Street, which has access, and that is supposed to be for everybody. Now you've got one restaurant who wants its own valet around the corner because its customers don't want to walk 2 blocks. That's insane.
We let Danny do it and we let Bonacera do it. And this
Mr.
will be open to
Scavone,
you.
hold on, this is the council discussion. We'll be happy to have you comment.
again, it was brought to our attention, River Center had asked us to talk about it, the parking committee went over it. I'm indifferent, obviously, so based on the discussion we have as a council and based on the recommendation of the chief, I'm open for it, Shlomo, but again, if we strongly believe this is going to cause only negative impact, I mean, it's really was brought to our attention, and we're having this discussion here right now. So.
What about Trattoria? They may have a valet request around the corner. Would they be able to have a valet plan on English Plaza? I mean, again, where do you draw the line? That valet scheme in the downtown is supposed to be for the downtown. Very few towns give up their public space as we did. We decided to do it. I agreed with it. It's a great plan. because it works from a traffic flow. But you don't put a valet plan in a street that could barely have 2 cars going up and down and tell people they have to wait for a valet that has no sidewalks, which is another safety concern.
All great points.
And the administrator was in on this? They didn't raise these issues?
I think in fairness to the police commissioner, he included the executive director of River Center in this conversation, along with the borough administrator and the police chief. And we did keep around some concerns. And Chief, if you've got some concerns that need to be addressed or need to be vocalized, now is the time to do it, please.
Thanks. So our concerns were pretty much exactly what the mayor's concerns were, and that's why we put a pretty brief sunset clause on it to try it almost as a trial period. The road is narrow, although it was improved a couple of years ago. Boat Club Court is narrow. It barely supports two-way traffic. Legally, it probably doesn't support two-way traffic because of the width of the cartway, but it does, in reality, have two-way traffic. Our real concern, and the administrator, in fairness to Stanley since he's not here, his concern was the queuing of traffic on Front Street, more so than the actual impact probably on Boat Club Court, which in that season the season we're talking about has very light traffic compared to if we were talking about June, July, and August, because the boat clubs aren't as busy, the park isn't as busy, the businesses in the park are actually closed. So we thought if we're going to do it at all, this was a good time of year. The concern is the Front Street, the impact on Front Street more than anything. And you know, we don't know what the impact will be unless we try it. And if you don't feel inclined to try it, that's obviously your decision. But if you do want to try it, we'll monitor it. Our traffic unit will monitor it and make recommendations to revoke it if they have to, if it becomes a problem after a week or 2 weeks or a month or whatever it is. But as the commissioner said, we really have no leaning either way other than that we would give it a shot. I would just clarify that it would be open to more than one business. The commissioner could probably speak to that, but it was going to be open to the public to use it.
Exactly, and that's what Greg had advised us as well, that it can't be dedicated to just one business, since it will be on the public road. And Greg, you probably, the chief passed it up to me, I'll pass it up to Greg, that you can probably answer a little better than I can or the chief can. But I mean, I agree. I mean, I have no interest, yes or no, but I do think that West Front Street is one of the worst blocks. I do agree with the mayor on that. I mean, it's kind of miserable to be on when you're caught in the delay. It is very, very difficult. But I mean, if you're saying that if we do a 90-day trial period and it's horrible from day one, can we revoke that 90-day trial period, or are we committed to that 90 days?
Unless it's calling a public safety hazard or some other life safety hazard, you'd be committed to the 90 days. Essentially, you'd have a really good reason, a good reason for reliance argument.
Chief, I have a question for you.
Sure.
You said that you really had your questions about it like I did, but I think you were ambiguous on one particular point. You're concerned about traffic from Front Street trying to get into Boat Club Lane. Is that a concern?
Now, they estimated, I believe they said 30 to 40 cars a night was an estimate of what they thought they would be parking. And if you figure the busy part of their night is maybe 3 to 4 hours long, so you're talking 10 cars on any given hour. The problem being if, say, a large party came and there were 6 cars all within 5 minutes of each other, they would probably take up that whole stretch of curbing. And then if the 7th car is waiting to turn in there, they would be theoretically waiting on Front Street, which is already horribly congested, as we all know. So it would be under that scenario that I think a problem would occur. If it was 1 car at a time every 5 minutes, it really wouldn't be a problem. It's just another car making a left turn. But if they got an influx of vehicles...
So you agree with me that if you have a valet scheme on Boat Club Lane, you have 1 car that is parked, presumably, towards the right-hand curve.
Correct.
Okay? So cars coming in off of Front Street would have to navigate that blocked car. What if you have another car that is going around the valet car trying to exit Front Street? That car on Front Street trying to go in Boat Club Lane or go into those apartments on Boat Club Lane, and people live there, cannot get in, is that correct?
Yes.
So
under
the
those-
traffic right now, that people are about ready to shoot our heads off on Front Street around rush hour, where it's gonna duplicate or triplicate twice. And by the way, everybody says this is a slow period. Is somebody forgetting what this holiday period is? Between Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, you have massive people who are gonna be using the place for holiday parties.
Well, no, it's definitely a busy season. When I say slow, I think we were referring to like Boondocks is closed, that boaters aren't here, and the boat clubs are in the season. It's talking seasonally about the impact that we're having on those lots, not the traffic. Obviously, the traffic. This is our football season.
I wish Boondocks were open because I like the place, but I don't see somebody that's gonna go to Boondocks going down Boat Club Lane. They would go down North Avenue.
Well, the
They're not gonna
point
walk
of bringing
across.
those cars, no, I think bringing up Boondocks is you'll be bringing those cars to Marine Park where that business is located.
You're missing my point. The parking on Marine Park is not the problem. It's the turning radii, the turning ingress and egress on Boat Club Court that is the problem, because we already can't get through Front Street for 3 or 4 hours every single day, and now we're gonna have the same problem for 2 or 3 hours at night. That's the problem. And by the way, we have a valet scheme 2 blocks away, which they can use.
Where do they park those on Broad Street? Where does that go on the sidewalks?
I mean, I'd like to, Jim has any comments?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Scavone.
Yeah. I mean, Mayor, I see.
The only thing that I wanted to add was that the restaurant is currently in negotiations to purchase a private lot to park cars. And this was a short-term solution. That negotiation would not go through until probably March or April. So this was a short-term solution that they were seeking in the meantime until they are able to purchase that lot to use as a parking lot. You know, they thought during the winter, as Councilman Whalen said, that, you know, Marine Park was not utilized that much, so it would be a good solution until the winter. It is true that there is valet parking on Broad Street, but what we have found is that it's used greatly for the businesses on Broad Street, but for the businesses on the side street, customers don't use the valet parking on Broad Street. Now, I mean, that's not necessarily something that any of us can do anything about. It's just people's nature. We have had requests to increase the valet in other parts of town, and we have not followed through on those until this point. This is the first one that we thought might be, you know, a place, because there are late night businesses on Front Street now, so we thought it might be utilized more on Front Street than in some of the other places we've gotten requests to expand it to, with the exception of Bridge Avenue, where we have valet parking at Danny's.
Can I make a suggestion? Are you suggesting that if we build a parking garage on White Street, it's only going to be used by Broad Street merchants? Not
No,
Broad
that's
Street?
not at all what I'm
I didn't
suggesting.
think
I'm
so.
just saying that, I mean, I think as is evidenced by the fact that the White Street lot gets hundreds and hundreds of people circling in it every day, we know that that lot is well utilized. But when it comes to valet parking, I think the people who most use that are the people who visit places like Catch 19 and Coco Paris and Char and those types of businesses, because it services them more easily.
I
And
don't
last-
think people,
I'm sorry.
excuse me, I don't think people know that that valet service on Broad Street is for other areas. I don't think, is there some sign that says just?
Yeah, it says parking for all of downtown Red
Oh,
Bank.
okay, it does, all right.
And when we put out ads and stuff like that, it says valet parking for all of downtown Red Bank.
And also, right across the street from the restaurant, last time I checked, is there a number of office buildings that close at 6 o'clock at night, and they're definitely closed on weekends. Has the property owner or the owner of that particular restaurant made any effort?
Yes, he has.
For evening parking?
Yes.
Valet parking?
I don't know
Mr. Powers
if,
has turned them down?
I am not aware of the exact, I know he has approached some
Well, let's get
other
the
property
facts.
owners. I don't know if it was for valet parking or for just to use for parking.
What I'm saying is that a valet parking scheme for convenience to one location is done in New York City every single day of the week. And you know something, the business owners, and I even saw it in Hoboken actually, make private arrangements for valet for a particular business lot that is a building off the road that is used. That's a private arrangement, which frankly, the owner of this restaurant could do tomorrow morning and we would approve it, but it gets the problem off the street. I don't think that they've done that.
I'm not sure, are you saying that they would drop their car in the private lot?
They would use the valet in the private lot.
In the
You know,
private
they
lot.
walk a half a block. I mean, is that too hard?
I don't know what the conversations were between that property owner and the restaurant owner.
It's across the
And
street.
the other thing I would just say is that the owner of the Old Wayne's Market called me today because they have a potential new tenant, and he was very interested. I know he's planning on, if it passed, to use that valet service that would be on Boat Club Court.
And
So it would be
that
for more than
particular
just
owner
26
was
West.
warned at the planning board approval, and he knew with full knowledge that he only had 3 parking spaces in the back. So he never talked about a valet scheme then. He said, no, that's enough parking for him, because people would be walking to his place. It's amazing how people don't like to walk once things are approved. All I'm saying is that, you know, there's got to be some sense of reality by this council at some point. But I'm just very concerned. I don't mind valet parking. I think it's a great idea. We could put another one on Broad Street if you wanted to, on the other side of the street. But it provides the opportunity to do so because of the width of the roadway and the traffic going in and out. You can't put a valet parking scheme in a 2-way driveway. It just doesn't work.
Mayor, I understand everything you're saying, and just, you know, all due respect on the fact that it's the reality of council. Eric, myself, or I didn't bring this up and say it's a great idea. It was brought to our attention, and we thought that we had our duty obligation for a parking committee meeting to talk about it, and then we're doing the normal process and procedure that we should follow as go through committee. Now we're talking about it here. So I don't think it's it's wrong to talk about. I think we're making good points on both sides. So it just didn't come out because, you know, Councilman Zipper said it's a great idea, let's do it. It was brought to our attention. I just want to make that clear.
And I'm not suggesting you guys didn't do that. All I'm saying is that there could have been some equation that wasn't considered. That is the flow of the traffic.
And I agree. I do think West Front Street's a horrible area. I mean, what if instead of make it 90 days, you make it 60, and then you build in a provision that if the police chief says at night, one, it's not going to work, then we allow the police to pull the plug without going 60 days. I mean, you know, I'm just saying if that's something we wanted to take into consideration, we could always massage that 90 days and build in there that the police department can pull the plug, or we don't act. I mean, like I said, it's really, I don't think it's we're not decided one way or the other, just we're here to talk about it.
My other question is, maybe I'm losing sight of something else, but if I recall correctly, wasn't there an approval granted by one of the boards, I think it's the zoning board, for another restaurant right across the street from there? The old workout place that is now vacant, and that's pending approval for some sort of cigar club. They don't have any parking either. They want to want valet parking on the other side of the street. I don't know.
Yes, the cigar bar was approved in the past.
Yeah, all I'm saying is that, you know, there's going to be a lot of valets.
No, that'll make that property owners very happy, having valet on both sides of the street. But, you know, I have to agree with Commissioner Whalen. We brought it through committee, we talked about it, we brought all of the entities that would keep the best interest of the borough in mind. We talked to the police chief, we talked to the parking director, the parking supervisor, the borough administrator, the members of the committee, and it was agreed that we would present this during communications and petitions tonight. And I think this is the appropriate forum to discuss it. So I can't disagree with Councilman Whalen on that. This is the right thing. And Mayor, I appreciate all of the points that you've made. We did discuss them in committee. We asked the police chief what the traffic department may or may not feel, and whether there was some sort of methodology to make this work on a trial basis.
I would tend to agree, Mayor. Your concerns are well founded. This is a trial basis. Yes, it is the holiday season. I think a 90-day trial with the provision that Mike talked about, with having the ability to just say this is not working, it's creating a hazard. I think that would assuage most of the concerns. If we could look at it and say, hey, it's been a week and it's been horrible, we can get rid of it. If it's, hey, it's been a week and it hasn't been that bad. I mean, not for nothing, when the Walgreens was going in, the sky was falling. I haven't heard many complaints since. So sometimes you just gotta try stuff and see what happens. This is a trial basis. So I would be in favor of going for the 90 days, but with the ability to pull the plug as needed.
So Gordon, you had a comment also. We opened it up to others, but Councilwoman Courtney, go ahead.
I just want to make one point. I mean, we're always told we're not business friendly, so let's give it a try. And if it doesn't work, then we, I mean, how does everybody feel?
I guess I just want to ask Attorney Cannon, is there a way to build in an escape clause if we find out in the first week or two that this isn't feasible in that particular roadway?
Sure, as long as that's made clear to the beneficiaries, I think that'll be okay. You can, that's my line, Mark.
Freddie
Yeah,
Boyd,
Mr. Boyd.
Fox 207. Mr. Mena, I hear you back there. Y'all councilors have to take first aid in the fire trucks, emergency, save somebody's life. Split second, somebody's gonna have a heart attack. They have to get down here. And if that road is like the mayor said, tight to get in there, there's somebody's life lost. Then the town may be in for a big lawsuit. So it's something for y'all to think about. Not just to satisfy them down there, to satisfy somebody's life. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
There is a solution that was talked about 15 years ago and never implemented, and that is to make both club lane one-way. That's how it would work. But that hasn't happened. Okay, so there's a request, motion. No, I think you were around when we were talking about that. Yeah, the council wouldn't go along with the one-way.
That's not our fault.
They were waiting for a developer to go in on the empty lot, which hasn't happened in 20 years. Okay, motion?
Yeah, I make the motion that we approve this 90-day trial period with the caveat that if the police see this as being too problematic and too hazardous to our traffic situation,
Or as
then we
Freddie
can,
pointed out,
yeah, or
there's,
we can pull the plug. So I think we gotta, I make that motion.
Is there a second?
One second.
Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Any members of the public have any comment on any ordinances or resolutions for introduction and for action? If not, I see none, motion to close. Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Ordinances for first reading. Ordinance 2017 is an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 490 regarding electric vehicle supply equipment, which is for charging stations. Motion to introduce.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Can you just, I wasn't sure when I was reading the resolution, where are these going to be placed? It said if it's,
There's no provision for retrofitting anything, it's for any new development that might come in.
it's,
Correct, so anything that would require at least 20 spaces, for every 20 spaces, you would have to dedicate at least one to an electric vehicle charging station. So it's a futuristic, it's a sustainable Jersey.
oh,
And Mark, there was a, just looking for there was a section in there that sort of excluded 1- and 2-family residences.
Yes, yes. Basically, you're not going to have 1- and 2-family residences requiring 20 spaces, so it's just, we were just identifying that as a.
So it has to do with the number of spaces, it doesn't have to do with electric charging stations themselves.
It's saying that any development that comes in at a certain size, we
Major
have to
development.
make it available.
It would be a major versus a minor. You can't impose that on a minor.
I'm not gonna ask a residential property owner to install a charging station for their house.
And the reason I asked that is because, in the state of California, they did enact that. So for every 1- or 2-family residential units that are built in the state of California, they're required to have a charging station, if not.
For a lot of reasons, we're not in California, but this was, we discussed this in code with Glenn Carter, obviously, and this was his recommendation to exclude those properties at this time. It's subject, obviously, to future changes as needed.
Thank you very much.
Okay, there's been a motion, a second, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, public hearing can be when? Public hearing November 8th, 6:30 PM. Second ordinance is ordinance 2017-37, which is an ordinance that supplements the LoSAP program, which is the Length of Service Support Program, on the recommendation of the chiefs and our fire department and first aid, that changes the rating system and makes it in current with standards in the state. Motion to introduce.
So moved.
Second. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Public hearing is November 8th, right now?
Yes.
6:30 PM. Ordinance 2017-38, which is an ordinance that amends and supplements Chapter 450 noise, that sets standards with respect to noise quality as well as abatement in the core business district or throughout the town, actually throughout the town. Motion to introduce.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Public hearing November 8th at 6:30 PM.
Mr. Mayor, I know he might have missed his chance to comment.
Gentlemen, right there, something regarding.
Did you have anything on the ordinances or public hearing?
The ordinance.
The noise
ordinance.
Well, this is not the public hearing, but we'll hear from
Okay,
you in a while.
okay.
This is just to introduce it, but
Okay.
I'll call on you as soon as we're done.
Okay.
We didn't actually vote for it, it's being put on the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Good. For ordinances, ordinance 2017-35 is an ordinance amending and supplementing the ordinances of the borough regarding the authority of the personnel authority of the policy and procedures manual, which has been amended. Any members of the public wish to be heard on this? If not, motion to close. Motion to close. Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion to adopt. Second. All in favor? Any opposed? The ordinance is adopted. Resolutions by consent. We have, unless there's a request to withdraw, resolution 17-237, 238, 239, 240, 41, 42, 43, 44, and 45 on Moss. Motion?
Yeah, Mayor, I have a quick question on Resolution 17-239, resolution offering curfew for October 30th and 31st. Are we extending that curfew later? Because it's not a, or what
We
is
do it
the?
every year. It's at 9 PM for anyone under the age of 18 can't be out without an adult after 9 PM.
Yeah, that's a
We've
standard.
done it it's a standard district right now,
You're safe, you're not that.
Not that, I mean, it's my birthday is October 30th, that's why I asked.
You're over 18.
yeah. Just take them
We
off.
have a 9 o'clock right now.
Rubbing it in. All right, motion to adopt. Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Resolution 17-246, authorizing tax appeal settlement regarding 26 Broad Street on the recommendation of our tax council and assessor. Motion. Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Resolution 17-247, accepting bids and awarding contracts for the borough's River Street retaining wall project. Motion.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution 17-248, a resolution authorizing the presentation of service ribbons to members of the police and fire departments with respect to their service. Motion.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Any opposed?
When will that take place, the presentation of service?
I believe it's on Veterans Day.
Yeah, and it's going to be honoring the members of the police and fire department who participated in Sandy relief efforts as well as 9/11.
Proclamation concerning Breast Cancer Awareness Month for October 2017, whereas October is National Breast Cancer Awareness Month and October 20th is National Mammography Day, and whereas for women in the U.S. breast cancer death rates are higher than those for any other cancer besides lung cancer, and whereas breast cancer is the most commonly diagnosed cancer among American women besides skin cancer, and whereas about 1 in 8 U.S. women will develop invasive breast cancer over the course of their lifetime. In 2017, an estimated 250,710 new cases of invasive breast cancer are expected to be diagnosed in women, along with 63,410 new cases of non-invasive breast cancer, and whereas about 2,470 new cases of invasive breast cancer are expected to be diagnosed in men in 2017. Statistics for men's breast cancer is 1 in 1,000, and whereas death rates from breast cancer have been declining, and these changes are thought to be the result of treatment advances, earlier detection, and through screening and increased awareness. And whereas mammography and X-ray of the breast can detect any breast cancer up to 2 years before physical symptoms can be seen or felt. Now therefore be resolved that I, Ms. Robin, and Mayor Borough of Red Bank, do hereby declare October 2017 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and October 20th as Mammography Day in the Borough of Red Bank, as we show our support for those struggling with this terrible disease and remember those who have lost their battle. I encourage all citizens to help promote awareness of what can be done to prevent breast cancer. Resolution 17249.
Before you begin, I just wanted to thank you for that proclamation. I come from a family that has a long history of breast cancer. My mother is a survivor. My sister is currently battling with it right now. Former councilman Mike DuPont's wife passed away from it. I encourage everybody to have their mammography done. Not only women, but men have to pay attention as well. Thank you.
Thank you, and again, we all remember those that we lost. Resolution 17-249, resolution for payment of bills. Be it resolved by the Mayor and Council that the following bills will be paid out of the attention as Director Street totaling $3,085,216.03. Motion, Councilwoman Schwab. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any old business? Any new business? Audience, sir. It's okay. If you could just pick up one of the microphones and press the bottom so we can hear you. It's already okay. And state your name and your address, please.
Yeah, I'm reading over the noise regarding the noise.
State your name because
My name is Philip Caivano.
And what's your address?
Landlord and resident at 11-13 Broad Street.
Okay, thank you.
So there's just been an ongoing issue going on for years now with people on the street playing music excessively. And I'm really glad that, you know, as it reads now, that the ordinance is hopefully going to include musical instruments. But it should be clear that it should be any time or day. Because these people we can't have on Broad Street an open-ended, like when can they be there, when can they not? You know what I'm getting at? Because
I hear your question, yeah.
You know, it should just be a little more clear of what's going on down there. And what do we do as tenants, landlords, residents, business owners, co-workers? What do we do when someone's out there at 3 o'clock in the afternoon? What's going to happen? Because as it stands now, I've called to try to get help on this, only to be told there's nothing I can do.
Well, that's the purpose of us here tonight. So
Right.
you all received, you sent the email to the governing body, I believe it was last week, and
Yes.
we're already trying to take action, so I appreciate you reaching out. My only fear of saying, you know, excluding all musical instruments on Broad Street is that sometimes we have our street festivals or street fairs, or we have music playing, and I think that's part of a vibrant downtown, so we want music to be in the downtown. I understand, obviously, you know, we're trying to
Actually, Michael, I think what the gentleman is saying is that he's not objecting to any approved or organized activity that is mandated by any of our groups,
you know,
but he's saying to people just out of the blue. Yeah.
I'm a musician myself. Long-term supporter of art music in Red Bank. My family's been on Broad Street since 1942. My father's the artist who made the statue out front of the firemen that we look at every time we come in here. I am not opposed to music and entertainment and a vibrant downtown area. The issue that we have on Broad Street is we have residents now. We want people to live there. We want a vibrance. We want synergy. We want businesses to thrive. But we can't have you know, we can't have our integrity and what we stand as a community on Broad Street jeopardized over people who just want to come play there whatever they want to. And then there's the fine line of panhandling. What is panhandling? So I can stand in front of Starbucks with my hand out and not asking for money, and I'm not panhandling, right? That's the same thing as somebody putting a bucket, a guitar case, or whatever. They're not asking for the money, but they are asking for the money. So these people aren't coming down here for the vibrance of the town. They're coming down here to make money, and they're not paying tax on that money. What I pay in taxes to be there, to have my live workspace, I can't leave my windows open. I have a studio on Broad Street. I've lost business from people coming down from New York City, Philadelphia, California, you name it, I'm a professional. I'm not making this up. I have lost money in business from people from New York and Philadelphia. It was like, what's with this guy out front of your place? I have a video from last week, excessively 8 hours a day. That's a little much. That's not just people coming in. It's not a kid with a guitar case trying to make a buck or be seen. I want these people there. But at what peace of mind, you know what I'm saying. I don't need to get redundant here, but I think
I've got
it's
a question for the borough attorney, because, and I don't know the answer, but if I knew that someone which you were pointing at, maybe there's a solution. I know that some other municipality in our general area that has a public space such as a boardwalk will only permit individuals to essentially perform on that boardwalk if they have an issued license to do so by the municipality to prevent that same sort of thing that this gentleman is talking about. So for example, if River Center has a street light, they already have a license to do that. If somebody, for example, is a world-renowned violinist or cellist who wants to sit outside of this gentleman's residence and he wants to play, you know, the cello for 10 hours in honor of Pablo Casal's birthday, he might be able to do that, but before he does that, he would have to get a license to stand or to sit with his cello on that sidewalk that is issued by the municipality. And so that's how this other town controls it, by issuing license. The police department in that particular town, because I was a co-prosecutor for about 10 years, do issue summonses for people who don't have those licenses, precisely because of the same sort of thing that this gentleman is talking about, that people were complaining about the friction between residential space and a reasonable use of the residential space, and somebody just, or sometimes competing with musical instruments from, you know, 3 people on the same block. So can we do that?
Yes, absolutely. So the other municipalities regulate this in really one of 2 ways. One is they require a permit when the person's performing in the right of way, which is the area regulation. 2, another shore municipality that I'm aware of has one where, so for example, you couldn't go out on the boardwalk and set up like a suitcase store, so to speak, right? And if you do and you have a license, that's fine, but you have to keep moving. So you can't set up, there's no hot dog stands on the corner, you gotta keep moving along the boardwalk and stuff like that. I mean, that's a more comprehensive ordinance.
It's a licensing ordinance, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the general licensing powers. Peddlers, hawkers, you know, solicitors usually do the same thing. In this particular case, you're the gentleman that sent the emails, correct?
Yes.
So, I mean, this particular case seems to be, this is the only kind of heard of it here. I would recommend a more comprehensive ordinance until, you know, we see this as a more systemic problem. This seems to be more, you know, annoyance. I mean, you certainly have the right to, now that the ordinance is written that way, to write a citizen's complaint. You know, you have some enforcement mechanisms that I think the council's given you. So, I mean, I'm more than willing to do whatever the council wants. But in an isolated case, perhaps enforcement here, now that the teeth are in the ordinance might help. That doesn't work, then we can go to the next step.
Yeah, I would just like to also bring up the way the ordinance reads. I don't know where you guys live, but the way this ordinance reads, anybody could set up and play an acoustic instrument anywhere on the streets of Red Bank. And an acoustic instrument is a drum, a cymbal, a saxophone, a trumpet, and stand out in front of your house, anywhere in Red Bank, 24/7, and the police can't do anything about it. That's the main problem. So as we move forward, that needs to be looked at. This isn't just singling out anybody on Broad Street. So if somebody comes into Red Bank and buys one of these $1 million houses somewhere, whoever knows where, an individual can do that. And the police have no recourse to do anything about that.
Well, he's not talking about a noise ordinance, and I know what he's talking about, and he's right. This ordinance deals with the issue of, quote, noise. It doesn't deal with the licensing issue of, it leaves it wide open for peddlers, hawkers, and, you know, troubadours. And these people could be considered troubadours. And he's saying they can camp out anytime they want as long as it's, and you can't prevent them. He's right. So do you want to revisit that issue, or do you want to move ahead with the noise ordinance?
Well, I think.
No, I thought we changed it to address that issue.
We did, that's the point of this.
Yeah, I mean, clearly the ordinance
That's what I'm
says-
trying to say.
But it permits people to do it, it just has to be a private citizen's complaint. If he's annoyed by it. I don't know, I'm just, based on what he's talking about, I'm just suggesting, do we look into it a little bit further?
It's just very open-ended. It's just very open, the way the ordinance is, and even if it's going to be changed, it's very open-ended to leave loopholes for people to do whatever they want, and that's the problem. You know, I have a space that's available for rent on Broad Street, at 13 Broad Street, that's street level. I've had potential people come in and ask, what's with that? You know, so here we are in a pickle, right? So what do we do as a community? You know, what do we do? So it has to be addressed.
Mayor, my next question would be then, you know, if you're going to say you need a permit, I mean, which one of us, or what criteria are we using for somebody to get a permit or not? I mean, who has the best ear, who plays good music or bad? I mean, I don't know, I'm not an artist. So, but if you're talking about sort of a permitting process, who are you allowing to obtain a permit? And based on, one, who is issuing these permits, and what is the criteria? I mean, Jim, maybe, but
I think the other towns leave it to organized activity.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's something we certainly can review. I would certainly walk this out, see how this, if this resolves the issue you're currently having, and if we have an ongoing issue, it's certainly something we can revisit. I mean, obviously towns do it in the past, even Ulster.
So in the advertisement of an ordinance saying that street performance is allowed in certain conditions could also encourage more street performance.
Exactly.
So, you know, reading this, I was under the impression that the police could write a violation for 450.1 under this ordinance, and it says musical instruments, and that's very general. It's in instruments, it says, or any, what is it? Musical instruments and devices that produce or transmit sound. So that's pretty broad.
I think Stanley's term is purpose.
It's more clear now. What I found troublesome in it before was, you know, excessive, like, you know, excessively, like if someone's out there with an instrument and they're excessively doing it, I don't care what they're doing. They could be out there with a triangle. The guy's there for, 8 hours a day hitting a triangle. That could drive you a little mad.
Yeah, it's always been a tough area of municipal regulation with noise. You know, there's case law, people have challenged decibel readings, in particular in the neighborhood noise ordinances. It's really difficult because, you know, it's like everyone else says, well, you know, one person's music is the other person's noise, right?
Well,
that's what it comes down to.
I have a video I can show any one of you guys on Saturday afternoon.
I don't think there's any dispute about what your experience is excessive.
Well, we just a video right outside my window of a truck at a red light up Front Street. I'm at 13 Broad Street upstairs. The saxophone is louder than the truck. That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. So
Good if he's a good player.
the point's been addressed.
We've addressed a similar issue with a different business earlier this year on Broad Street as well. So I think we've shown that we're flexible to create the type of enforcement that needs to be enforced and give the police the power to enforce. So again, if it persists and we need to do something more from a licensing standpoint, to Greg's point, I think we can do it. I think let's see how this shakes out.
Sure, that would like nothing more than another license.
Yeah, exactly.
I have to tell you, I was involved, and again, we're going to try this out, but and we hear your concerns, but I have to tell you a quick but funny anecdote. As a young attorney, I remember I was involved in one case in a wonderful town that Mr. Cannon knows well also, by the name of Kearney. And I was involved in a case that involved a novice player of the bagpipes. He was just starting out, so he had to practice someplace. And this young man was practicing on a Sunday afternoon, and he only was able to play one tune, and that's the tune he was trying to learn. And he played the one tune. If anybody knows anything about the bagpipes, they know it's a really nice tune. Well, I mean, but he played Scotland the Brave for an hour and a half, over and over and over again. So somebody filed a municipal court complaint on a noise ordinance saying that they were interfering with his peace and quiet. It was tried at municipal court. The judge found the defendant not guilty. The judge's name was McGregor. He said Scotland the Brave was not offensive to you. Thank you for coming.
But Greg, as a quick recap, you're saying the police now do have the ability to enforce, so, you know, now at least when you get a concern, there is a mechanism in place for our police department to go out and write a summons, so. You know, and please let us know, obviously, if this continues, if.
Well, this will have to go in for next week, correct?
Next council.
November 8th.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks.
It won't be enforceable until
Okay.
past November 8th.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anybody else? Ms. Burnham?
Good evening. Cindy Burnham, 71 Wallace Street. I'd just like to know how many spaces that we will be leasing out to, or, yeah, how many spaces are we leasing out to Riverview Hospital?
I think, what is it, Cliff? I think it's 100. 100, that's what I thought.
100, okay. And Mayor, I just want to let you know this, because we still have that lawsuit going on, right, against Meridian and Riverview?
We have a pending matter in the tax code of the state of New Jersey, yes.
Right, and there's 5 different cases.
I'm sorry?
There's 5 different cases, like 3
There
against
is
Meridian.
litigation- There's litigation in the tax code, yes.
Right, okay, well, I just want to make you aware of this. You know, on Front Street, that greenhouse, almost across from Welsh Farms, pushed back by the river? Yeah, and it used to be an old hunting lodge, and Riverview bought it.
That's correct.
And Riverview is renting out apartments there.
Well, the question is whether or not they have a CO that will refer to the, I thought that there were before.
There were always apartments, but I mean, are they paying tax on that?
I do not know the facts of it, but I'll.
Well, that's what I'm letting you know.
We'll refer it to the assessor, but I appreciate your,
The assessor? Okay,
well, yeah, he's the one that should have the details on it, I would think.
okay. I'll check
Yeah,
into
but
that.
I don't know the personal details of that.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Do you?
No, I thought you, Cindy was going to ask a question about the spaces. But when you talked about something else, were you connecting the?
No, she said she wanted to know.
Yeah, I had 2 questions.
I thought you were asking, I thought I was going to try to answer your question, but you didn't have it before me.
No, thank you.
Anybody else? Mr. Boynton?
Good evening, Mayor and Councilman, P.O. Box 2074, Red Bank. Mr. Mayor, it was brought to my attention, the brothers that's Celeste Lodge told me to ask you, can you get that pole light right in front of the lodge? It's pitch dark out there. The light is out.
Certain Central Jersey, Jersey Central Power and Light Company has been told to upgrade that light and take care of it.
Oh,
So
that light?
I don't know if it's done by tonight, but they've been.
No, I'm saying, they was told about it already? That light?
The work order has been put in.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know if
We
it's-
didn't know. We didn't know. I know we came out there last night, it was pitch dark.
As a matter of fact, I'm glad you raised that question because I've been getting a bunch of it. This goes to what I said about earlier about Shrewsbury Avenue. A bunch of requests by residents of the west side in terms of the lighting deficiency on most of our residential streets on the west side, frankly, even on the east side. So we have to have that discussion with JCP&L. Yeah, the JCP&L, the wattage is woefully insufficient. Maybe we're getting older, we don't see well. But it's really pretty bad, and I've gotten complaints on Lincoln Avenue and Locust Avenue and some of the side street, Catherine and Leonard. And so we're going to, I'll speak with the JCP&L, have a meeting here to see what we can upgrade it, but I think we have to bite the bullet and go for brighter lights because it's just not sufficient right now.
Yeah, no, that light is, you know, it's dark and we had a lawnmower in the shed and somebody stole it.
Yeah.
The lawnmower, you know, they opened and stole it. The other thing is, these houses around here, the lots are full of a lot of debris. I mean, it's trash everywhere in these yards. Who's in charge of code enforcement for that?
Of the what enforcement?
Code enforcement. What
That's my
council is in
committee.
charge of code enforcement?
That's mine,
Huh?
my committee.
But you need to get on because these yards, I caught 9 skunks in 1 yard.
Yes, I know.
25
I
Bank
know
Street.
it's come 3 times this year.
And behind that young lady's house, they got all these cars parked back there and trash behind the cars.
If you give me the addresses, we'll get it taken care of.
Well, it's off of West Dr. Parker Boulevard.
Okay.
Lorraine lives on 25 Bank Street.
Yeah.
I caught 9 skunks out of her yard. And it's behind her house is destroyed. You know what I mean? And you go down Tilton Avenue, and right before the church, you got a big pile of trash. I guess people bought the house, but it's just trash piled up. It's a
We
whole
don't-
dumpster load of trash
It's piled up on the street, it's piled up
No,
on the
it's piled up
sidewalk or in the yard.
in the back of the yard, and just piled
Yeah,
up
there-
there.
there's no excuse for that, approach to be out there.
And if you go down West Bergen and Pearl Street, that new house, you look to your right before you go on Pearl Street like you go into the field. Right there in the front, they got a big pile of wire and trash right out in the by the driveway. I mean, that is you know, I mean, what do we, you know, I mean, we got to do
The
something
one
about
with the
this.
retaining wall,
Excuse me?
the one on the north side of Bergen,
On Pearl Street.
that's on Pearl.
Soon you turn off of West Bergen on the Pearl Street,
Okay.
the driveway is on your left. You can't miss it because it's
Okay.
there. What, I'm just saying, we got to do something about this.
Well,
You know, we're people out there.
And the other thing I want to say, Mr. Miller, is our councilmen need to hear somebody else's voice. I mean, y'all don't want to pay attention to people come up here and have a complaint. And you know, we need to get together and work together. But we're not going to work together like this. That's all I got to say.
And the other thing I've suggested to code enforcement, I know Mark is receptive to it, and perhaps, you know, we'll get to this, but I really believe that we have to adopt a zone system for individual code officers and not respond to just code questions or problems that are brought to the council or brought to the administrator, but they should spend one day or every morning a week, or, you know, as long as it takes to drive around in their code and be responsible for their zone. That has to happen. It just has never been done. And we're responsive, we're reactive instead of being proactive, and I think that's what Mr. Quick was saying.
Mr. Mayor, I'm willing, councilors, all of y'all, have my phone number. Call me up. I'll go with you. You can walk the neighborhood. I'll show you yourself.
I'd love to take the day off tomorrow. I will call you and I'll get you in contact with the right people who can actually go with you tomorrow. And as the lighting, I know you're going to some issues with the pharmacy issues we're having. Cliff will probably speak to some of the electrical issues. It's not necessarily the bulbs themselves are bad, it's literally the infrastructure underneath. So we need to, as part of a bigger, more comprehensive plan, we need to start looking at it. So.
Anybody else? Ms. Burnham,
One more quick thing.
you didn't use up your 3 minutes, any?
Cindy
2.5
Burnham,
minutes less
71.
than the check.
71 Wallace. I've also been noticing that, only because I was in code also, that there are a lot of real estate signs being put into the right-of-way. There are campaign signs. I spoke to Mark today about that. His own family, his parents have 6 signs, which is okay, but there's 2 of them in the right-of-way. I don't even know if 6 are allowed. I think there is a limit. I know, but I think there is a limit.
Moving their signs. I have not, frankly, had the time to spend any time at my parents' house recently, so I will.
Well,
Maybe I'll
I'm
do
just
it.
saying, there's a lot of real estate signs marked too. Are you hearing this? Real estate signs? Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Mayor, I actually have one thing for,
Please.
Mark. For the code enforcement for the houses, the dilapidated houses that we passed earlier, how are we following up on whether they're actually for sale? Because I was driving down Lincoln and I saw a house that was pretty nice, but there was a for sale sign up for it. But it wasn't listed on any of their websites or anything. So I think that some of them may be just putting signs up to not be cited for the code. So.
And I believe, actually, I don't have to actually the exact language in front of me, but for simply placing the property or placing a for sale sign does not prevent you from being on the list. you still have to register the property as being in repayment. So that doesn't necessarily preclude the homeowner from the responsibilities required under the ordinance. I don't have the figures, I can get them from Tommy tomorrow, and find out if they have the actual address and find out if it's registered.
I think that you still have to file, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I think. That's the way it normally works.
Yeah, Mayor, there was not a condition that you could just obviate the need to register by placing for sale signs, then obviously that's what we.
Everybody would do that, yeah.
We saw that.
Okay, now we have a need to retire for a very, very brief executive session on litigation. Yes, it's going to last no more than 5 minutes, and then no formal action will be taken. We will just be returning to formally adjourn. Motion to retire to executive session to discuss litigation and also property acquisition.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed?